The Labor Department says the U.S. added 528,000 jobs last month. That's almost double what economists were predicting after several aggressive interest rate hikes from the Fed. The unemployment rate also dropped to 3.5%. That's from 3.6%. So joining us now to discuss the report is Eric Winograd, Director of Developed Market Economic Research for AllianceBernstein in New York. Thank you so much for joining us. So this jobs report, as we said, pretty surprising. Not what economists expected. Typically, interest rate hikes will lead to fewer jobs being added, and we've seen some aggressive rate hikes in the last couple of months, obviously. So why aren't we seeing the labor market slow down?
Yeah, you're right. It was a surprise. Most of us had expected to see some gradual deceleration in the labor market. Certainly other indicators of the labor market are pointing to, I don't want to say weakness, but sort of decelerating strength. And of course, that's not what we got today. I still think that that's the most likely path forward, but at least for today, the evidence is that the labor market is still extraordinarily strong. And to answer your question, yeah, the Fed has raised rates aggressively, but monetary policy typically works with a lag, and it might be the case that we just haven't really seen the full effect of what they've already done.
I want to get your thoughts on another contributor to Newsy. Mark Hamrick is an economist with Bankrate.com. He said in reaction to this, if this were a baseball game, the jobs report just hit it out of the park. I want to get your thoughts just as far as how we fit this jobs report into the overall picture of the economy right now, because obviously people are still impacted by the record high inflation. Gas prices have come down a little bit. Mortgage rates dipped below 5%. Again, historically low unemployment. Like, this is such a confusing economic picture. So what are we supposed to make of what the state of the economy is right now?
Well, I think that what this report does is emphasize that things really haven't changed. The picture that we've seen over the past few months is one in which inflation is too high. Growth looks like it's starting to slow, and yet the labor market remains strong. And these things aren't all supposed to coexist in sort of that arrangement for very long. You know, you would expect that over time, slowing growth would lead to a weakening labor market. And of course, that's not what we saw this morning. So I view this as sort of, let's wait and see another month. Let's defer. Let's see how these things shake out. Something eventually is going to have to give. But for this month, it hasn't.
And when it comes to inflation, I mean, we talk about this every day because we feel it every day, whether we're at the grocery store or at the gas station. So when do you think we could start to see inflation start to go down? I know a lot of people are trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel here. But if it does start to decline, what can we expect to see with employment?
So look, there's been some encouraging news. As you say, you know, commodity prices have started to stabilize. Gasoline prices actually fell over the course of July. So for some parts of the economy, there is some good news. But for some of the more critical components of the inflation basket, for rents, for housing prices, for example, we think it's going to be several more months to see meaningful relief. And the longer that the labor market remains strong, the longer it's going to take for inflation to come down. One of the things we haven't touched on in today's report is wages, and wages rose more than expected. They're up more than 5% year over year. That's obviously good news in terms of helping households cope with inflation, but it's bad news insofar as it means the inflation is likely to extend further. We need to see the labor market start to weaken. We need to see wages start to decelerate in order to see inflation come down. And as I said, this month just extends that period.
Yeah, it's just simply not keeping up with inflation is what we point to, where it's a good sign that wages are up, but it doesn't matter if it costs $5 to fill up with a gallon of gas. Eric Winograd, Director of Developed Market Economic Research for AllianceBernstein. We appreciate you coming on.